Hi, and thanks so much for taking a look at this video. This right here, I made this video in order to get something out there. I'm working on a project called Absolute Truths in Marketing. And although you see three on my screen here with this mind map, I obviously have more than three, but I didn't put them out here just yet. I'm still filling this up. And in fact, I'm wondering if something that I suggest here might resonate with you. Plus, I'm challenging myself to get stuff out there because part of the problem that I think a lot of people face is getting stuff done to the point that they're satisfied and then getting it out there. So I'm just trying to use the whole principle of the minimalist approach, minimum effective dose, just good enough. Just get it out there, right? So I've come up with a few, three that you see here, and in fact, if you're watching this and you find that there are others that resonate with you and you want to suggest them to me, feel free to do so. Uh, but the one that I'm going to talk about in this video is one of the truths that I found to be absolutely true is that value really is in the minority. Okay, and I'm going to walk you through a few things here. One of them being the low-hanging fruit myth. We're going to discuss that real quick. And then we're going to talk about these three examples. Low hanging equals short term, the monkey plucked concept, and I'm going to contrast it against the fruit on the ground and why that's no good, right? So let me give you a demonstration of why I believe the value is in the minority, and at least if you don't believe it, give you something to consider, okay? Just recently, if you look at the value of a job here, a lot of people would consider, at least in the offline marketing space, if you're going after local small businesses, they're not corporations, right? A lot of folks believe that making $500 per job is something that's reasonable for whatever reason. I'm not too sure what it is. I've been there though, but $500 should seem like a reasonable amount of money to earn per whatever your internet marketing expertise is. And I want to give you some comparison and contrasting data to consider at the very least, and why, hopefully, I demonstrate why I've chosen to go after the higher dollar amount stuff. Even though there are less of them, there's less of that stuff available. I'm going to try and give you some insight as to why it is that I do it, and perhaps give you counterpoints that you may not have considered. I don't know what you've considered, but I'll tell you. All I can do is give it to you from my vantage point and what I've experienced and what has worked for me. Right. So, if you think a job is worth about $500, that's what you're willing to do. That's how you value whatever it is that your specialty and your services. I think, and I would much rather go after a $5,000 job. That's just adding a zero to it, right? And if if we were to go after the same amount of applicants, right, 100 people, and we wanted to convert, let's say 10% of the people converted into something. Let's use the big broad national statistical numbers of 2% conversions, right? I get out of 100 deals, 2% of them turn into something. Okay, so in this scenario, we got 2% conversion. If we close just 2% of those, that means we get two deals out of this 100, but we make $10,000. In order to get the same $10,000 out of these $500 customers, out of these same 100 sort of jobs that come through our way, we'd have to close 20 of them in order to make the same $10,000. I don't know about you, but I'm more comfortable and confident that I can handle two jobs by myself than I am handling 20 jobs and still having to, if I'm going to meter this out and delegate stuff, having to manage employees and outsource. If you were to sell 10% of those, right? That means you're making 10. You get 10 deals, and you're making $50,000. All right. I don't mind divvying these 10 jobs and delegating, half of it or more to uh, outsourcers who can help me. Maybe I have two virtual assistants helping me. Than I would having to hire the manpower I need to manage 100 jobs. And mind you, that would require me having to get all 100% of these job applications that I come across. I'd have to land all of them in order to get the same $50,000. Which do you think is more likely? And just to give you more food for thought and to show you what it is that I did, I've come across about 25 jobs, and I landed four of them. So what is that? 25%? I don't know what it is. I can't do it at these numbers, right? Let's see here. Four jobs, 10%, so it's 20% roughly. Oh, 16%. All right, fine. Um, that's about what I've landed. I actually landed two, let's just call it. Um, I landed two $5,000 gigs, and the rest were hourly amounts of $50 an hour, which still amounts to $100,000 a year, which is a great rate when you consider the type of work. I was able to figure it out so that I got paid up front. Anyway, not to belabor that, not to confuse the issue, I want to show you that the value of what it is I'm trying to demonstrate here is that the value is in the minority. Although there are less of these jobs available, it's easier to manage, and it's infinitely more worth your while to go after and pursue because of the fact that you don't need as many jobs, right? Because if you look at it or think about it, let's use the 100 number, which is easy to work with, right? And we were able to get just what do we say it was? One, nope. 2%. Two of those jobs. That means even submitting and reaching out to 100 of these applications, to make $10,000 divided by 100, it means each call is worth $100. Each application I send out is worth $100. Whereas over here, to make that same amount of money, each call is worth $50. I hope that makes sense. The value of each send out is worth more in the first scenario. So all you have to do is just send out the same amount of offers and you can make more money. Hopefully that makes sense. So low hanging equals short term. What I mean by that is, although a lot of people will tell you go after low hanging fruit and just simply blurt that out as a sort of construct, sort of a given conventional wisdom, right? I am here to suggest to you that low hanging fruit is not what you think it is. In fact, it might be sort of like the stuff you don't want, the discards, the leftovers. It's only a short term fix, it's a band aid. Okay, low hanging fruit represents, in my opinion, my guesstimation, and based on experience, not the type of business you want. You don't want to deal with these problem havers that aren't necessarily looking to better themselves. They're looking for band-aids. They're looking for quick fixes. They don't necessarily aspire to more. It's been my contention and my experience that the people that are low-hanging fruit, quote unquote, are their most problematic sorts of businesses. They're the ones suck you dry because they're looking for A grade services at Z grade pricing. They don't really want to pay for or value the service. And I think price, when I say price is subjective, price is something that is a substitute for value, or it represents value at the very least, right? So I want to give you the counter to that. I want you to consider the counter argument to this. Monkey pluck. I've got some notes here for you to consider. Monkey pluck is something that I got from an ex-girlfriend's mom. She talked about monkey pluck tea, and if you don't know what monkey pluck tea is, look it up. Here's a good little representation of that. Oolong tea is a tea that's usually picked by monkeys to get the best grade of it. Right? These things are young leaves that are formed at the tip top of the wild trees, and basically the only way to get to them, because it's so intricate, is to send up trained monkeys to do it. And because of that, the leaves are so expensive, right? Because they're so valuable, they're so hard to get, right? And I thought that was so interesting. But the analogy is that most things that are worthwhile require going to the top, require arduous work and effort and intricate, sophisticated ways to get to them, right? So that's the analogy there. The other thing is I came across was this quote here: Boolean black belt. Okay, what's the low hanging fruit in recruiting, right? When you're looking for a job, this article talks about low hanging fruit, and a lot of people think low hanging fruit might be okay. It's a simple problem or target, and a target that's easy to achieve, or a problem that's easy to solve, apparently, right? And it makes some sense, according to this article, that it makes some sense as well. But the fact that the leaves are so, the fruit is so easy to grasp, everybody can get to them, means they're not sought after, because low hanging fruit is often the fruit that comes off of the tree first, right? And they fall to the ground. So that brings us to this next little point. And I have one more post that I just kind of put in these notes here. But fruit that falls on the ground is no longer any good. Nobody wants the fruit off the ground, but it's easy to access, right? You can pick stuff off the ground real easily, but it no longer has any value. Okay, no one wants the leftovers. There's no more value. And if you think again in terms of value, and price is really a function of value, or substitute for value, why would you go after the stuff that's easier to get to if there's no value in it, right? You can just as easily get that stuff. It's just that nobody holds a lot of value in that, and the fruit is less desirable. Okay, the final article that I want to point you to really hits this whole thing home, and it's really the article that I leverage, that I utilize to kind of go on my mission of getting high paying clients, right? This article talks about hacking Elance, the step-by-step guide to how I made $23,700 in 4 weeks. Article is brilliant. It's written by the guy by the name of David Piazza, De Piazza or something like that. Really brilliant article. The dude did some espionage stuff, and he basically reverse engineered the types of. He wanted to see what he was up against, and the questions that he asked. The two questions that he wanted to answer were. Let me see if I can find it here. The whole premise was he designed a test to answer two questions. What strategies do my successful competitors use to stand out in a crowd? And then how can I completely obliterate them by being ridiculously overprepared? And the findings of this article were just amazing. They just blew me away. And I couldn't believe I came across this, but it led to me being able to quickly jump in front of other competitors at these sites, but really going after the money. And let me see if I can't add more value to this by showing you, even if you go to a site like Odesk, right, which is another freelance site. I don't think it's as well put together as Elance, but it's fine. I've gotten a lot of work off of it. Um, let's say you were searching for a gig here, and again, hourly versus fixed price. I would leave them both of these things set. A lot of people would look at these, $100 gigs, and from 100 to 100,000, there's 18,000 of them. But when you look at gigs going from 1,000 or more, there's still 3,912 jobs that you can go after. That represents roughly 10% of the entire amount of jobs available. Again, the 80/20 rule in full effect, right? Why wouldn't you spend your time in this zone than you would in this zone? Right? I'm referring to these numbers here. I don't know. I think people have a sense that these are just easier to get, the low hanging fruit, quote unquote. But I don't believe that that's the case. I honestly think that it's a lot easier to go for these other jobs, these jobs right here. And in fact, I think the sweet spot is around the 1 to 5 to even a $10,000 range. And in fact, you can see that there's 3,533 of these. There's a ton of them, right? So there's a ton of available opportunity right here that a lot of people don't even realize. And there's so many different platforms and sites that you can do this on. Why not go for it? I don't know. I was able to land two $10,000 gigs last month. This month, I've already acquired a job where I'm actually shaping the customer to realize the hourly is probably not the smarter way to go. But if he's going to pay hourly, I'll take $50 an hour. That's $100 per year if you extrapolate that out using regular hours per week of work hours in a week or whatever. But this is all mindset stuff, in my opinion, which I may not have fully vetted out or explained in this video, but opportunity just abounds, is what I'm getting at. And I think the opportunity lies at going and searching for the higher up in the tree, right? Go for the value. There's tons of value where people are willing to pay. They're not broke. They have money and they're willing to pay it. They just aren't sure how or why to go after the people that they want to go after. You have to kind of help them with that. So that's a truth that I've uncovered. The value is in the minority. You can find that in other instances in life. I got this really hammered home for me by reading the book 80/20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall, who I was fortunate enough to be able to interview. And if you go to 8020curve.com, this thing may make no sense, and I don't even know why I pulled it up in this video. But if you're looking for total members, right, 100, and if you look at this 80/20 sales 80/20 curve using those same numbers, if you went after 100 members, right, and 10% of them responded and it was worth a $5,000 gig, you hit this number here. You'd have to use how to use this tool to understand this fully. But basically what this says is, over here at the right side of this curve is where all the value is. How many? I wanted to know how many members are worth $1,000 to $10,000. There's 6 of them, right? Can produce an output between 1,000 and 10,000 at these points, right? Everybody else, if from here on out, is worth about $900, and the last person, the 100th member, was willing to pay about $100 for a job. There's a lot of opportunity here. In fact, all of these are all opportunity, right? But let's say 2 of them were willing to spend $5,000. Let's see if this changes anything. Yeah, it does. Because this is more realistic. This is actually what's happened to me. You'll find that there's a ton of them willing to. There says that there are 12 people that are worth more than 1,000 and up to 10,000. In fact, There are people there willing to pay more than 10,000, I'm sure. If you were to put this in and find the same digits, I'm pretty sure you would uncover. I didn't have to send out 100 of these offers, by the way. There's at least one person in this whole group willing to pay you at least $20,000 for work. And you can find that by, changing this a bit. So let's go to, let's see here, 20,000. How many how many people worth between 10? Sorry, that's my daughter in the background. 10 and 20,000. 214 jobs. They're out there, guys. I hope that made sense. Contact me. Let me know what you thought. Comment or whatever. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it useful and valuable to your whatever it is that you're up to and doing. And I hope to connect with you sooner. Let me know what else you think I should include on this absolute truths chart that I'm working on. And I'll talk to you soon.